First, we're going to toss it down to Nick. Some, we're going to say wild news and notes to start off the show and the week here on All Steelers Talk.
Well, one of the biggest storylines all offseason, and really, if it heads into the season, it'll be one of the biggest storylines as well, is going to be head coach Mike Tomlin entering a contract season. And according to Eric Smithling of Yardbarker, Tomlin is one of 10 coaches that are on the hot seat entering the 2024 season. Do you guys agree?
Steven, I'm going to toss that one to you.
Yeah, not at all. I don't think his seat is even warm. I think if it was warm, we would have heard a lot more about it over the offseason and going into the end of, I guess we did hear about it towards the end of last year, but I think that was more media speculating. It was more fans speculating a little bit. I think people were frustrated with how the season was going, obviously before that 3-game win streak to end the year. But again, I think that was more speculation, and I think it would take something really, really devastating, something really disastrous this season for the Steelers to even consider moving on from Mike Tomlin, and that's just consider. I don't think they would actually do it. They'd have to win less than 7 games, I feel like, to even begin that conversation. And that's like the floor. And even then, I don't even know if they would consider Mike Tomlin to really be the problem with what's going on with this team. Looked like Omar Khan said pretty plainly, like they never had any consideration, any thoughts of moving on from Mike Tomlin this offseason. It's just not something that they wanted to do. They don't think it's something that's going to make them better. I think you can make an argument about, it's stale. He hasn't won a playoff game in 7 years, all that stuff. But I think when you get down to it and you ask yourself the question, okay, is Tomlin versus the field, who makes the Steelers a better football team? It's hard to argue against Mike Tomlin in that scenario. So I really don't think he's on the hot seat at all. And I don't think the Steelers are even close to considering something like that.
No, I think it is. For one, this is twice now. This is back-to-back weeks where we have to talk about a wild Mike Tomlin. Oh, maybe he's done. Maybe this is the season of the downfall. This is every year. This is every year. And we've done it back-to-back weeks. It's May. It's not even June yet. We haven't even hit minicamp. This is organized team activities. And we're talking about Mike Tomlin being on his way out, being on the hot seat. I'm sorry, but there are not, even if there were 10 coaches, which I don't believe that there are 10 coaches on the hot seat in the NFL. That's that's such a long list. You're telling me a third of the NFL head coaching list is on the hot seat? I'm sorry, but I just don't. The 10 coaches don't get fired every year. Mike Tomlin being on that list, and frankly, not being number 10, like being number 8, where it's like, there's 2 guys who are less warm than Mike Tomlin. Wild thought process there. There's no way. Like there's no possible chance that Mike Tomlin is on the hot seat. He leaves Pittsburgh when he wants to leave Pittsburgh. That might not be the reaction that everybody wants. That might not be what every fan is hoping for. But that's quite frankly the truth. Mike Tomlin is nowhere near, his seat isn't even, like he's not even sitting down. Mike Tomlin has no seat in Pittsburgh. He controls that. It is a throne, and he could do whatever he wants with that throne. It's ice cold. It's so frigid. He doesn't even want to sit on it. I'm sorry, but Mike Tomlin being on the hot seat, no chance. And then what were we talking about last week? It was Florio or somebody saying, Coward saying that Mike Tomlin's going to leave and go to a broadcast. Like, it's early, guys. I get it. There's no football. We got a long offseason ahead of us, but it's too early for this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people are jumping the gun a little bit, mostly because I think the Steelers are going to be pretty good this year, man.
Exactly.
I know people aren't as high on the Steelers as maybe a lot of people in Pittsburgh or you and I are. But I think this team, I think we're burying this team long before, because that's the thing. Like you said, Mike Tomlin is not moving on until Mike Tomlin wants to. And the only reason I would see Mike Tomlin wanting to was if this team seems like it's headed nowhere. And that doesn't really seem like the situation right now. I think the Steelers are much improved on their roster last year, which made the playoffs, which headed to a 1-score game with the Buffalo Bills going into the fourth quarter in the fourth quarter of a playoff game. Like, this team is not far off from being really competitive. I think they will be really competitive this year. And the idea that you'd enter a season like that thinking that Mike Tomlin was in any kind of danger for his job is pretty crazy to me. And it just, even my, predictions looking out onto the season, I can't imagine a scenario where anyone looks at the job Mike Tomlin does this year and thinks that he deserves to not be the coach of the Steelers. It's just not within the realm of possibilities for me.
Yeah, no chance. I think the only way that conversation gains any traction is if he ties himself to Russell Wilson and does not let go, no matter how bad Russ is, no matter how bad the ship is sinking, and everybody is screaming, hey, put Justin in there, and he's the only one saying, no, we're sticking with Russ, and the season ends because of that. But quite frankly, he's not going to do that. You know, he might push it a little bit too far, and he might, like, if that scenario ever arose, he might push it a little bit too far, but he's not going to let the ship sink. He doesn't let the ship sink. He gets it to where it needs to be, doesn't get it farther than that most times, but I think this is the team that could possibly push that limit.